Okay, for this week, we're going to install a carbon fiber splitter on the bottom of the front fascia. In order to get this started, I need to take off this fascia here, this top piece, and take off the side wheels here. That way I can get back and get this fascia off. So once we have that started, we'll see you right back here. Okay, I've gotten the wheels and tires off, gotten the top cover off. Now along the back side here, inside the wheel well, there's a lot of clips. There's about 3 or 4 clips there. There's 3 or 4 screws on each side, and then clips all on the bottom. There's one hidden screw at the top of the fender on each side that you'll need to go through from the bottom. And while you're in there, go ahead and unplug your fog lamps if you have those on your vehicle. From that point on, the rest of it's just going to kind of adjust a little bit back and forth, and it's going to pop right off. You can pull from the side here a little bit. You can pull from the front. This whole fascia, after that, is going to come right off. Okay, now as you can see, I have the fascia off the car, and what I've done is just set up my sawhorses here with the board underneath. That way I can have a nice working table at a good height. I don't have to crawl around on the ground. I've taken the APR carbon fiber splitter, and I've laid it on the table, and then I put my fascia on top. This is going to need to be centered on the back side, side to side, and then the back of the fascia is going to touch the rear edge so that it's continuous all the way around, and it's going to stick out about 3 inches from the front. What you want to do is you want to take a tape measure, center this up side to side so that it's even, align it with the back, and then you're going to start marking your holes. That way you can drill through the carbon fiber splitter to be able to attach it to the fascia. So once I get that set up, I'll be right back. Okay, now I have the fascia up on here and had it centered up. What I had actually done is taken a scribe on each of the holes in the back of it. I've now marked all the way around. That way I know where my screws that tie my fender liner in to the fascia are on the outsides of each side, and along the front I know where all the clips go. Where all the fender liner is going to attach to the fascia, I'm drilling a 9/32 hole there. That way the bolts can actually go up through this carbon splitter up into the fascia and ties everything together. On the front, the plastic clips unfortunately can't overcome this extra thickness for this board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a 1-inch hole saw where they go and put a hole in each one. That way I can still put the clips up in where the fascia will go in to chin spoiler underneath here for the air, and then my support rods will be out front, and that will help support it for the front, and then I'll have bolts on the sides. So once I have all this done here, my holes drilled, I'll bring the fascia back on, and we'll start connecting all the pieces together. Okay, so now I'm done. I've marked all of my fascia off, clamped it down. I've actually drilled all the hole mounting holes where I'll attach the fascia to the carbon splitter. You can see I've also put in holes for the clips that'll go in. So now, once I attach this to the fascia, I can take the fascia and splitter off as one piece, and I can take out all my clips. That way I won't have to take this off separately, then take the fascia off. It's all going to be one complete unit, and I won't have to do anything. The last thing I'm going to do before I put it all together is I'm going to notch out a little space here so I can change the oil when I change the oil in the filter. That way I can get into the filter. So once I have it all fitted up, I'll put the fascia on, test fit it, double check everything, and then I'll cut this out and we'll get it going. Okay, as you can see, I've got everything mounted up now. There's 6 bolts on each side holding in the fascia to the carbon fiber. It's on the other side, and then you can notice on the front edge there, you can see daylight through all the holes. Now I've also got 2 holes I'm working on here and here, and these are also going to mount to the front member of the car, and I've got spacers in there. I've got 2-inch aluminum spacers that I've made, and that way I can actually secure it to the car. It's going to be very stable. So now I'm going to test fit the fascia to the car, and I'm going to put the samples in there, and then I'm going to put on the front strut rods. Okay, I've got the carbon fiber splitter put to the fascia. I've actually got these strut rods and the front support strut rods put on. Drill a hole in the bottom here up to the fascia, tighten them down, and everything's adjusted so these are even, and this splitter is going to sit even with the ground once it's back on the fascia. Then put back on the car. So I'm going to now put the fascia on the car, get everything finished up, and we'll take it for a test drive. Okay, we're getting towards the end of day 2. I ran into a little bit of trouble on day 1. Started getting frustrated. I couldn't get this to fit. This carbon fiber splitter is so rigid that it wouldn't let the fascia go back on properly because it wouldn't flex. So I ended up taking the carbon splitter back off at the end of day 1, and I was starting to run out of daylight. So I started back over. This is actually 1 week later. On the next weekend, as you can see, the weather's gorgeous out today. So what I've actually got done now is the splitter is attached to the fascia. I do have my piece that I just need to put the rods on. We'll put the wheels and tires back on, lower it down, and then I'll put the rods on and adjust this height appropriately. That way everything's done. Let me show you the bottom area here and show you how I've done everything so that if anybody wants to do this, you can see that it's nice and sturdy on there. Okay, here we are under the car. You can actually see all the fascia bolts, everything there. These here are to the fascia itself. These are the original from the factory, tying in the wheel well housing protector to everything underneath to make sure it's aerodynamic. And if you notice in the back here, you can see that I put in 2 aluminum tube spacers that will help secure this back edge. So this fascia is actually bolted to the vehicle, to the subframe and the metal, and that way it's not going to be loose in the back at high speeds or anything. Okay, I've got the tires back on, the car's down on the ground, and I've actually measured around this lip to make sure it's roughly even. It's even within about 1/4 inch all the way around. All you have to do is adjust these strut bars just by turning them. Start with them on the minimum. Once you get them tight here, you can adjust out that way, and then you can lock it down with your nuts here. That'll lock it in place. If you want to, I have done this on these parts. I have Loctited with blue so that it can come back off, but there's no chance it's going to come apart on me. This process to me has taken about 8 hours. I've done everything myself. If you have a partner that's going to help you, you probably cut it down to maybe 4 to 5. Just remember, there's only about 4 or 5 of these splitters that have ever been made for a Versa that I know of. So everything you're going to do is going to be custom. It's going to have to take some time. You're going to have to adjust everything to make everything fit properly, and make everything line up. That's all for this week. Join us on the forums at NissanVersa.org and look for the Nissan Versa Tech site coming up soon.